At the end of this day, one shall stand, one shall fall.
What's up, agents? It's Dwerewolf Gaming back in action. I do want to say happy Thanksgiving to everyone. And I also want to point out, agents, one thing we should always do is be thankful for the things we do have. A lot of times in life, we spend so much time being focusing on things that we don't have or things that other people have that sometimes we forget that we're blessed with the things that we already have. With that being said, today I want to showcase a powerful Merciless build. So today we're bringing some explosive energy to the Hollywood global event. And this time we're unleashing the Merciless. If you want to build that melts shielded enemies, obliterates elites, and turns every encounter into a fireworks show, this is the one. The Merciless works different from any other rifle in the game, and during a Hollywood event where enemies get huge damage resistance until you trigger explosions, this weapon becomes an absolute monster. In this video, I'm breaking down the build, showing you how this gun functions and why the Merciless makes the Hollywood event feel like easy mode. So let's get into it, agents. All right, so the primary thing on the Merciless, agents, I'm going to go ahead and tell you now, the talent is called binary trigger. And basically you fire one round when you pull the trigger and a second round when you release it. This makes your timing important for steady DPS.
That's a good spot for a fire. Heavy ammunition.
All right, so like I was just stating, agents, the Merciless is the main focus of this build. And one reason I did decide to showcase this build because, I made a video yesterday showcasing the Ravenous, and I thought a lot of agents don't have it, so this build will focus more on the Merciless. As you can see, it's fully maxed out with the weapon expertise of 30%. The accuracy on this gun is pretty good, but some of it is coming from my gear set, and the stability does have room for improvement. We do have a really fast reload time of 1.21 seconds. And again, as you see, that talent is what I was just talking about not too long ago. It's called binary trigger. This weapon fires on the trigger, pull, and release. If both bullets hit the same enemy, you gain a stack. At 7 stacks, shooting an enemy deals 500% increase in amplified damage and creates a 7-meter explosion, dealing 500% increase in weapon damage, consuming the stacks. The mods that come in this gun you cannot change. That is 15% accuracy, 10% reload speed, 15% weapon handling, and 15% stability. Now, if you look at the gun on the right side, there's an indicator that shows you when your stacks. So that way you have more control, agents. You know when you get to that 6th stack, your next shot, you're going to be able to trigger that explosion. Now, your secondary weapon, you can equip whatever you prefer. I did have the Thorn equipped, so when those enemies get up close, you can take them out. This gun is fully maxed out with a weapon expertise of 20%. And as far as the weapon handling, the accuracy is horrible, stability is great, and a horrible reload speed. The talent on it is what truly stands out. It's called Perfect Brazen. You receive plus 3.5% amplified damage on the next shot with the weapon for each pellet that hits the target. If at least 4 pellets hit, killing, and the enemy will provide an additional plus 8% amplified damage on the next shot. The mod I do have on it is a 20% increase in reload speed. All right, and I do recommend, agents, this pistol is amazing. It is called a Quick Step. The talent on it is called Sport Mode. Basically gives you 20% increase in move speed. This bonus does not stack. This is great for getting you out of tough situations when those enemies are trying to surround you. All right, so we do have 3 pieces of the Zeus set on, agents, and that gives us 15% increase in magazine size, 20% increase in rifle damage, and 30% increase in weapon handling. As far as the core attribute, we do have a weapon damage, and everything on this build will be going for either critical hit chance or critical hit damage. All right, the chest piece, we did decide to wear 1 piece of the Steelwork chest piece, which is actually the Palisade Steelwork set, which gives you 10% armor on the kill. For the core attribute, we do have an armor core, and again, those attributes we're going for critical hit chance and critical hit damage. The talent I decided to use is Glass Cannon. Basically, all damage you deal is amplified by 20%, and all damage you take is amplified by 50%. I know a lot of you will not don't really care for this talent, but overall, I've been enjoying it lately. And this build, I decided to use something that doesn't rely on building up stacks. Now, if you don't want to use it though, agents, for example, you can go for a little bit more survivability, or even use the Intimidate talent. And what that does is, while you have bonus armor, you gain 1 stack each second up to a max of 9. Each stack increases weapon damage by 4% to enemies within 10 meters. So basically, you get your 9 stacks, you'll be at 36% increase in weapon damage. Keep in mind, you do need to be within 10 meters of those enemies. Now, you could go for more survivability and use the Unbreakable talent. Basically, when your armor is depleted, it will repair 95% of your armor, but this does have a cooldown of 60 seconds. Another talent I will recommend is the obliterate talent, and critical hits increase total weapon damage by 1% for 10 seconds. The stacks at 20 times to get to 20 stacks. That is 20% increase in weapon damage. But keep in mind, again, you have to build up those stacks. I wanted just flat out raw damage, and that's why I chose to use the glass cannon talent. But overall, use whatever works best for you. The second piece of the Zeus set is the holster, and we do have an armor core for the core attribute. And again, those attributes with critical hit chance and critical hit damage. For the knee pads, we did decide to go with the Fox Prayers, which is the name Overlord armament set, which gives you 10% increase in rifle damage. The core attribute is weapon damage, and the attribute, the 8% damage to target out of cover, comes automatically on these knee pads, and we did have a 12% critical hit damage attribute as well. For the gloves, it is the name Eagle's Grasp, and this is the third piece of the Zeus set. And basically, we do have, for the core attribute, we do have a weapon damage core, and the attributes, that 15% increase in weapon handling comes automatically on these named gloves, and we did have a 6% critical hit chance attribute. All right, the backpack is the Memento backpack. Doesn't really need much introduction, but overall, this backpack comes with 3 core attributes. That is weapon damage, armor, and skill tier. And the attribute we do have is a 6% critical hit chance. The talent is what truly stands out. It's called Kill Confirmed. Enemies you kill drop a trophy on death. Collecting trophies provide both a short and long-term buff. The first one scales with the number of core attributes equipped. For example, agents, depending on the number of cores you have, as you see right there, I do have 4 red cores. So each time I pick up a trophy, I will be getting 20% increase in weapon damage. All right, and each blue core gives you 10% bonus armor. Each yellow gives you 5% increase in skills efficiency. Basically, for every trophy you collect, you gain an additional plus 1% weapon damage, plus 1% skill efficiency, and 0.1% armor regeneration for 300 seconds. When you get a max of 30 stacks, that is 30% increase in weapon damage, skill efficiency, and 3% armor regeneration. All right, we did use the Crusader Shield. This scales with the number of blue and yellow cores you have, so we're currently sitting right there at tier 4 on the shield. All right, and we will be using the Jammer Pulse agents to help disrupt those enemies. And basically this, but you can use whichever type of status effect you would prefer for this Hollywood Global event. And I also will be using the Revival Hive some at a certain point in this game, because remember, when playing heroic content, if you go down, you basically, and you're not at the final part of that mission, you will restart the whole mission over. All right, let's take a look at our weapon stats. We're currently sitting right there at 265,901 weapon damage with a critical hit chance of 52%. The max is 60 with 110% critical hit damage. We do have a headshot damage of 80%. All right, so let's take a look at some of these other weapon stats. As you can see, we do have a reload speed of 80%. Accuracy is 85%. Stability is 85%. Our weapon swap speed is 60%, 60% weapon handling, and 20% increase in ammo capacity. Overall, this is great agents. It's make this weapon feel great. A lot of people don't like using them because of the recoil and the weapon handling, but overall, this is amazing. We do have weapon damage bonus of 100% with rifle damage bonus of 60%. One thing I do want to point out is don't forget to equip the correct weapon element to get your 15% increase in weapon damage. It does play a major part in your build. So if we take a look at our armor, we do have 1,304,298 armor with 260,858 armor on the kill. We do have 0 armor regeneration, but keep in mind, when we do get our stacks from the Memento backpack, we will also have 3% armor regeneration on the build. All right, so let's take a look at how many days we have left on this Hollywood Global event. And we're currently sitting right there at 5 days, 15 hours left to play this event. So with that being said, overall, this is a very fun event. If you never tried it, I do recommend you give it a try. But what it does is, if you're new, basically rogues have an outline of all hostile factions with energy shields, which deflect a majority of typical damage. However, these shields have proven quite dangerous if introduced to the proper stimuli. Damaging shielded hostiles with explosions, EMP damage, or any kind of specialization weapon will result in their shields burning out, causing an explosion and dropping special ordnance. So basically, agents, your specialized weapons or any type of EMP or explosions helps remove that resistance they have, and you'll do massive damage to these enemies. All right, so if you take a look, we do all running the gunner class specialization. Every third reload is 50% faster. You do get 10% armor back on the kill, and every time you kill an enemy, your rate of fire is increased by 5% for 5 seconds. Also, you generate 10% of your ammo capacity every 60 seconds, and party members will receive 5% of that. And whenever you remain motionlessly for at least 1 second, you will have 10% increase in weapon handling. The last thing I do want to mention is don't forget to equip the correct weapon element to get your bonus in 15% in weapon damage. It does play a major part in your build. All right, agents, one other thing I do want to point out is these builds are always just templates. These are just things I am using in my gameplay. You never have to use what I'm using. I always change these builds up to make them work for you. A lot of times when you see if I'm using something, it's because of the type of enemies I'm fighting, or maybe it may be the level of difficulty of the content that I'm taking on. Remember, we all play this game differently, and we all tackle things very differently. I know some agents, they like to just play with certain types of builds. Some of them focus on high damage builds. Some of them focus on only survivability builds. Me, I play a range of different types of builds. With that being said, I do want to point out that if your watch level is at least 1,000, you will be at the baseline of doing the same damage as you see me doing in the gameplay. The only other factor that will play a part in your build will be your weapon expertise level. So if I am doing a little bit more damage than you may be doing, just keep in mind your weapon expertise needs to be at least, the highest you can get on your weapon expertise is 30%. So if yours isn't at 30%, that could be a factor as why I may be doing a little bit more damage. And again, your watch level is at least 1,000. You will be at the baseline because you will have all the passes unlocked on your watch as far as damage. I hope you enjoy the gameplay. If you do, please remember to like, share, and turn on the notification bell so you can stay informed whenever I do drop videos. Have a good Thanksgiving, agents. Stay strong. Dwerewolf out. All right, and for those who enjoy the gameplay, stick around, agents. I will be finishing up the rest of this mission.
Detected heavy ammunition. Hostile protection restored. Removed hostile protection. Protected hostile restored. Hostile protection removed.
Look for the transmission control module. It handles all communications going in and out of viewpoint. If you reset it, you'll lock out the True Sons and we can take over the channels. Okay, stay by the module and make sure it completes the reset sequence.
Let's get the job done. Damn it!
Hostile restored.
I better fix that turret.
Detected. Heavy ammunition.
Time to set up a turret.
All site facilities are reset to default or under direct SHD control.
That's good to hear.
System disrupted. System back online. System malfunctioning. Structural integrity at 75%.
Agent, you've got to stop waiting. Leave that radio mast. You won't be able to use your shade tech as long as that EMP jammer is active. Take it out.
Hostile protection removed. System curtailed. System activated. System malfunctioning.
No shot here.
Detected. Heavy munitions. System restored. System curtailed. System activated. System. Structural integrity